I spent $591,200 raising a family that wasn't even mine, and all I got for it was being called a loser at Sunday dinner. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. My name is Robert Thompson, though everyone calls me Bob, and at 67 years old, I thought I'd seen everything life had to throw at me. I was wrong, dead wrong. 3 years ago, I buried my wife Margaret after 42 years of marriage. Cancer took her slowly, expensively, and painfully. When the funeral bills were paid and the dust settled, I found myself alone in our 4-bedroom house in Columbus, Ohio, with $800,000 from the sale of our family home and a comfortable pension that brought in $4,800 monthly. I should have been focusing on my own healing, maybe traveling like Margaret and I had always planned. Instead, I threw myself into being the perfect grandfather and father-in-law. My daughter Sarah, 42 and working part-time as a freelance graphic designer, was struggling with her husband Derek to make ends meet. They had 2 beautiful children, Emma, now 16, and Lucas, 13, and Derek's job as a sales manager at TechCore Solutions barely covered their basic expenses. Dad, I hate asking, but Sarah's voice trembled during that first phone call in March 2017. Lucas needs some medical tests, and our insurance doesn't cover everything. Could you maybe help us out? Just this once? Just this once. Those 3 words would haunt me for the next 8 years. It started small, $500 here, $200 there, emergency car repairs, unexpected medical bills, school supplies for the kids. Derek would shake my hand firmly, looking me straight in the eye. Bob, I can't tell you how much this means. As soon as I get that promotion, we'll pay you back every penny. By 2018, my temporary help had evolved into a systematic monthly support system, $4,200 every month like clockwork. Derek had convinced me it made more sense to help them with their mortgage directly, rather than wait for them to ask for emergency money. It's more dignified this way, Bob. More businesslike. The house came first. A beautiful colonial in Westerville with 4 bedrooms and a 3-car garage. When they couldn't qualify for the full mortgage, I stepped in with a $75,000 down payment. Just until Derek's commissions pick up, Sarah assured me, tears in her eyes. You're literally saving our family, Dad. Then came the cars. Derek's old Honda was unreliable for client meetings, and Sarah's minivan was unsafe for the children. 2 brand new vehicles financed through my account. $850 monthly payments that I absorbed without question. The private school was Derek's idea entirely. Emma and Lucas deserve the best education money can buy, he declared over Sunday dinner in 2023. Public schools in this district are failing these kids. You understand that, right, Bob? You want what's best for your grandchildren? Of course I did. Another $2,400 monthly for St. Catherine's Academy. The best of everything for Emma and Lucas. Violin lessons, soccer camps, designer clothes, the latest technology. They were good kids, honor roll students, and they deserved every opportunity. But something had shifted in the family dynamic. Where gratitude once lived, a sense of entitlement had taken root. Derek stopped mentioning promotions or payback plans. My monthly transfers became as expected as the sunrise. When I missed Emma's recital due to a doctor's appointment, Derek's comment stung. Guess Bob's too busy to care about family anymore. Sarah, once my little girl who would call just to chat, now only contacted me when there was a problem requiring my wallet. Dad, the hot water heater died. Dad, Lucas needs a new laptop for school. Dad, we're thinking of taking the kids to Disney World. Could you cover the hotel? The Sunday dinners at their house became performances where I played the role of the grateful grandfather, invited to witness the life my money had built. Derek would hold court, discussing his business strategies and investment opportunities, while I cut my pot roast in silence, watching my grandchildren enjoy luxuries I provided but could never claim credit for. Last Sunday changed everything. We were seated around their mahogany dining table, another purchase I'd quietly funded, when Derek raised his wine glass. Here's to another successful month at TechCore. Closed 3 major deals, impressed the hell out of the regional manager. Emma beamed at her father. "Dad, you're like so successful. All my friends think you're basically a CEO or something." Derek laughed, his chest puffing with pride. "Well, sweetheart, success comes to those who work hard and make smart decisions, unlike some people who just drift through life." His eyes found mine across the table, and the smile on his face turned cold. "Speaking of drifting, Bob, when was the last time you actually contributed something meaningful to this family besides just existing?" The room fell silent. Sarah's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. The kids looked confused, sensing tension but not understanding its source. Derek leaned back in his chair, emboldened by the silence. "I mean, seriously, what's it feel like to be such a complete loser? Living alone in that empty apartment, no purpose, no achievements. Just a sad old man watching other people live real lives." That's when I smiled. Not the polite, uncomfortable smile I'd worn for years, but something else entirely. Something that made Derek's confident smirk falter just slightly. "Derek," I said quietly, setting down my fork with deliberate precision, "how does it feel to know that this loser just bought the company where you work?" The moment those words left my mouth, Derek's face drained of every ounce of color. And that's when I knew my real education was about to begin. The lie rolled off my tongue so smoothly it surprised even me. Of course I hadn't purchased TechCore Solutions. With my $800,000 nest egg, I could maybe buy their coffee machine. But Derek's horrified expression was worth every imaginary dollar I'd just claimed to spend. You're lying," Derek stammered, his wine glass trembling in his hand. "There's no way you could afford—" "Afford what, Derek?" I interrupted, maintaining that same calm smile. "To invest in a company whose sales manager barely meets quota 3 months out of 12? Sarah's eyes darted between us like she was watching a tennis match. "Dad, what are you talking about?" I stood up slowly, my joints protesting after years of carrying emotional weight I should never have shouldered. "Nothing, sweetheart. Just having a conversation with your husband about professional development." But the damage was done. Derek spent the rest of dinner fidgeting, checking his phone obsessively, and casting nervous glances in my direction. When dessert was served, he excused himself to make urgent work calls. Walking to my car that night, I reflected on how we'd reached this point. It hadn't happened overnight. This transformation from gratitude to entitlement had been 8 years in the making. I remembered 2017 differently than Derek probably did. Back then, he'd been almost deferential, calling me sir and insisting on detailed repayment plans he never intended to honor. "Bob, sir, I've calculated exactly how much interest you should charge us. It's only fair." The humility was genuine in those early days. Derek would update me weekly on his sales figures, explaining how each commission check would contribute to paying me back. Sarah would send handwritten thank you notes with the children's artwork attached. Emma and Lucas would hug me tight, whispering, "Thank you, Grandpa Bob," without being prompted. By 2019, when I provided the down payment for their house, the dynamic had subtly shifted. Derek's updates became less frequent, his tone more casual. "Bob, buddy, you know we're good for it. The housing market's exploding. This investment protects all of us." The word investment should have been my first red flag. I wasn't investing. I was funding a lifestyle Derek's income couldn't support. But I told myself I was securing my grandchildren's future, giving them stability after losing their grandmother. 2020 brought the pandemic and Derek's first real taste of financial fear. His sales plummeted, and suddenly every conversation centered around my temporary assistance becoming essential family support. "These aren't normal times, Bob," Derek had argued during a tense phone call. "Families need to stick together. Margaret would have wanted you to help us through this crisis." Using my deceased wife's memory as emotional leverage was Derek's masterstroke. How could I argue against what Margaret would have wanted? She'd loved Sarah and the children unconditionally. By 2021, Derek had developed an interesting psychological phenomenon. He'd begun taking credit for my financial contributions. When neighbors complimented their new SUV, Derek would puff up proudly, "Yeah, I worked overtime for 6 months to afford this beauty." No mention of my $850 monthly payments. When Emma scored the lead role in the school play, Derek would boast to other parents, "We invested in the best arts education money can buy. You've got to prioritize your children's talents." Again, no acknowledgement that my checkbook made St. Catherine's Academy possible. The most infuriating part was watching Derek's confidence grow alongside his selective amnesia. Each successful month at TechCore, funded by the stability my money provided, convinced him that he was solely responsible for their improving circumstances. "I'm really hitting my stride professionally," Derek announced during Christmas dinner 2022. "Funny how success breeds success, you know? Once you get momentum, everything starts falling into place." Sarah nodded admiringly. "Derek's been incredible this year. The promotion, the recognition from corporate, he's really proven himself." I sat there carving turkey, biting my tongue while Derek accepted praise for achievements built on my financial foundation. He'd never missed a mortgage payment because I insured it. He'd never worried about car breakdowns because I covered his transportation. He'd never stressed about school fees because I handled education expenses. Meanwhile, my own life had contracted around their needs. I'd postponed dental work to cover Emma's orthodontics. I'd delayed home repairs to fund Lucas's summer camp. I'd canceled my planned cruise to Europe because Sarah needed help with property taxes. The breaking point should have come in 2023 when Derek actually had the audacity to criticize my spending habits. "Bob, I've noticed you've been pretty tight with money lately," he'd observed during one of our monthly financial discussions. "Maybe you should consider downsizing that apartment. Seniors your age don't need all that space." "Downsizing," I'd repeated, stunned. "Just thinking practically," Derek continued. "You could save money, and we could redirect those savings toward Lucas's college fund. It's about being smart with family resources." Family resources, as if my retirement savings belonged to all of us collectively. But I'd swallowed my anger then, just as I'd swallowed it for years. I'd convinced myself that keeping peace was more important than keeping dignity. That being needed was worth being used. The transformation was complete by 2024. Derek no longer asked for money. He announced upcoming expenses. "Bob, Emma needs a new laptop for advanced placement courses. Should be around $2,800. Not a request, not a discussion, a notification. And somehow, impossibly, I'd become the problem in their narrative. When I hesitated before writing checks, I was being difficult. When I asked about repayment timelines, I was being unrealistic. When I suggested they might budget more carefully, I was being controlling. "Dad, you don't understand modern family economics," Sarah had explained patronizingly. "Everything's more expensive now, we're doing our best." Their best apparently was spending my money while treating me like an inconvenience at my own grandchildren's lives. The final insult came 3 weeks ago during Lucas's birthday party. Derek was regaling other parents with stories of his business acumen. When someone asked how he managed to afford such expensive celebrations every year. "You know what they say," Derek had laughed, throwing his arm around my shoulder in a gesture that felt more possessive than affectionate. "It's all about strategic financial planning and making smart sacrifices." Strategic financial planning, smart sacrifices. I was the sacrifice Derek had made to achieve his lifestyle. That realization hit me like cold water, washing away 8 years of rationalization and self-deception. Standing in their driveway now, my car keys cold in my hand, I made a decision that would change everything. It was time to show Derek what real strategic financial planning looked like. Sleep eluded me that night. I lay in my modest one-bedroom apartment staring at the ceiling while Derek's words echoed in my mind. What's it feel like to be such a complete loser? At 3:47 a.m., I gave up on rest and made coffee. My kitchen table, usually clear except for the morning newspaper, soon became command central for the most important audit of my life. The storage closet in my bedroom held 8 years of carefully organized financial records. Margaret had always praised my meticulous bookkeeping. Every receipt saved, every transaction documented. "Bobby," she used to say, "you keep records like we're running a Fortune 500 company." Tonight, that obsessive organization would serve a purpose she never could have imagined. Box after box emerged from the closet. Bank statements, canceled checks, credit card receipts, money transfer confirmations. The paper trail of my generosity spread across every surface in the apartment like evidence at a crime scene. I started with 2017, the year everything began. March through December, $18,400 in emergency assistance. Small amounts then, $300 for Lucas's medical tests, $1,200 for car repairs, $850 for Christmas presents Derek couldn't afford. 2018 told a different story. The monthly support system kicked in during February, $4,200 every month, 12 months straight. Plus the graduation party for Emma, $2,300, the family vacation to Florida. Derek insisted was educational for the children, $4,800, and the emergency roof repair that couldn't wait for insurance, $6,100. Total for 2018, $63,600. My hands trembled as I reached for the 2019 folder. This was the year of the house. The $75,000 down payment dominated the records, but it wasn't alone. Monthly support continued uninterrupted, plus the furniture allowance Derek claimed was necessary for proper entertaining, $8,400, Emma's private tutoring for advanced mathematics, $3,600, and Lucas's travel baseball expenses, $2,200. 2019 total, $139,800. The numbers grew larger as my coffee grew cold. 2020, $58,300 despite Derek's reduced commissions during the lockdown. 2021, $71,900 including the 2 vehicles that Derek now claimed he'd worked overtime to afford. 2022, $66,500 with Emma's orthodontics and Lucas's music lessons dominating the extras category. By the time I reached 2023 and 2024, my calculator's display seemed to mock me. Private school tuition had joined the monthly essentials, pushing the annual totals to $78,200 and $82,400 respectively. But it was 2025 that made me physically nauseous. Just 7 months into the year, and I'd already distributed $47,300. Derek's confidence hadn't been misplaced. It was expensive. Pulled out a legal pad and began the final tally. 2017, $18,400, 2018, $63,600, 2019, $139,800, 2020, $58,300, 2021, $71,900, 2022, $66,500, 2023, $78,200, 2024, $82,400, 2025, partial, $47,300. My pen hovered over the paper as I added the column twice, then 3 times, hoping for a different result. $626,400. $626,400. Over 8 years and 4 months, I had transferred more than half my life savings to fund Derek's arrogance and Sarah's passivity. The magnitude of that figure knocked the breath out of my lungs. I could have purchased 2 luxury condominiums in downtown Columbus. I could have traveled to every continent twice. I could have funded scholarships for dozens of deserving students. Instead, I had bankrolled Derek's transformation from grateful son-in-law to entitled tyrant. But the raw numbers only told part of the story. I pulled out my current financial statements and began calculating the opportunity cost. That $626,400, if invested in a conservative portfolio averaging 7% annual returns, would have grown to nearly $900,000 by now. Factor in compound interest over the coming years, and I'd sacrificed well over $1 million of retirement security. For what? So Derek could feel successful. So Sarah could avoid adult responsibilities. So my grandchildren could live beyond their parents' means. The most painful realization came when I reviewed my own expenses during the same period. I'd been living like a monk, denying myself basic comforts to fund their extravagance. My clothes were 3 years old. My car needed maintenance I'd postponed. My apartment lease hadn't been renewed because I worried about committing to higher rent. Meanwhile, Derek drove a luxury SUV I'd purchased, lived in a house I'd financed, and sent his children to schools I'd funded, all while calling me a loser who'd never accomplished anything meaningful. The hypocrisy was breathtaking in its completeness. Dawn was breaking over Columbus as I closed the last folder. 8 hours of methodical documentation had produced undeniable proof. I hadn't been supporting family members in temporary crisis. I'd been funding a lifestyle completely disconnected from Derek and Sarah's actual earning capacity. Every success Derek celebrated, every milestone Sarah praised, every opportunity my grandchildren enjoyed, all of it built on my financial foundation, while I received not just zero credit, but active contempt. The phrase enabling addiction drifted through my exhausted mind. Wasn't that exactly what I'd been doing? Derek was addicted to spending money he didn't earn, and I'd been his supplier for 8 years running. But addicts could recover. They could learn to live within their means, develop genuine accomplishments, build authentic self-esteem. They just needed their supply cut off. I gathered the scattered documents into neat stacks, my movements deliberate and decisive. Margaret's voice seemed to whisper from memory. "Bobby, you're the smartest man I know when you stop second-guessing yourself." She was right. I'd spent 8 years second-guessing every instinct that told me this arrangement was unhealthy. I'd ignored every red flag that warned me Derek's gratitude was temporary. I'd rationalized every insult as misunderstanding rather than genuine disrespect. No more. The documentation phase was complete. Now came strategic planning. I opened my laptop and began researching bank procedures for stopping automatic transfers. My fingers moved across the keyboard with purpose I hadn't felt in years. Each click represented another step toward reclaiming my dignity and financial security. Derek had called me a loser, but losers don't methodically dismantle the systems that enabled their own exploitation. Losers don't transform hurt into strategic action. By the time the sun was fully risen, I had a comprehensive plan developing. Every automatic payment, every standing authorization, every financial connection between my accounts and their lifestyle would be severed with surgical precision. Derek wanted to know what it felt like to be a loser. Soon, he'd discover what it felt like to be financially independent. Whether he'd survive that discovery remained to be seen. Monday morning arrived with crystalline clarity. I'd spent 43 years in marketing and business development before retirement, skills that apparently hadn't atrophied during my years of voluntary financial servitude. My first call went to Chase Bank at exactly 9 a.m. "Good morning, Mr. Thompson. How can we assist you today?" The customer service representative sounded cheerfully professional. "I need to cancel all recurring transfers from my checking account, effective immediately," I stated, my voice steady despite the magnitude of what I was initiating. "Certainly, sir. May I ask if there's been unauthorized activity on your account?" "Quite the opposite. I've been authorizing activity I no longer wish to continue." The representative pulled up my account. I could hear keyboard clicking as she reviewed 8 years of monthly $4,200 transfers to Derek and Sarah's joint account. "Mr. Thompson, I show several recurring transactions. The largest is a monthly transfer of $4,200 to a Mitchell family account. Should I cancel this one as well?" "Especially that one." "Very well. All recurring transfers have been canceled. Is there anything else we can help you with today?" "Actually, yes. I'd like to set up a new savings account with a higher interest rate. I suspect I'll have significantly more money to save going forward." Tuesday's mission involved St. Catherine's Academy. The private school's bursar, Mrs. Henderson, knew me well from 8 years of punctual tuition payments. "Mr. Thompson, how wonderful to hear from you. Emma and Lucas are such delightful students. Are you calling about the fall semester payment schedule?" "I'm calling to inform you that I'll no longer be responsible for the children's tuition. Their parents will need to make alternative arrangements." Silence stretched across the phone line. "I see. Should we contact Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell about this change?" "That won't be necessary. They'll figure it out soon enough." "But sir, the semester starts in 3 weeks. If payment isn't arranged..." "Mrs. Henderson, with respect, that's no longer my concern. I'm sure you understand. She didn't, but she processed the account change anyway." Wednesday brought perhaps the most satisfying call of the week. State Farm Insurance had been automatically deducting premiums for Derek's SUV and Sarah's sedan from my account for 4 years. "State Farm, this is Jennifer. How may I help you?" "I need to remove myself as the policyholder on 2 vehicles," I began, rattling off the policy numbers I'd memorized from years of statements. "Mr. Thompson, I show you as the primary account holder for both policies. Removing yourself would mean..." It would mean the actual drivers become responsible for their own insurance. Revolutionary concept, I know. Jennifer paused. Sir, if alternative payment arrangements aren't made within 30 days, we'll have to cancel coverage entirely. Jennifer, I'm 67 years old. I understand how insurance works. Of course, sir. The changes will take effect August 31st. Thursday's target was the mortgage company. This conversation required more finesse since my name appeared on supporting documentation, but not the primary loan. Quicken Loans, this is Marcus speaking. I've been making supplementary payments on a mortgage account. I need to stop those payments immediately. Marcus pulled up the Mitchell account. Mr. Thompson, I see you've been contributing an additional $800 monthly toward principal reduction. Are you experiencing financial hardship? Financial hardship. The irony was delicious. No, Marcus. I'm experiencing financial clarity. I'm not sure I understand, sir. The homeowners will need to manage their full mortgage payment without my assistance. Please note in the account that no further payments will be accepted from my bank routing number. Sir, I should mention that without your supplementary payments, their monthly obligation increases significantly. They may not be aware. Marcus, they're about to become very aware of many things. By Friday, I felt like a general completing a successful military campaign. Every financial connection between my resources and their lifestyle had been systematically severed. No more automatic transfers, no more tuition payments, no more insurance premiums, no more mortgage supplements. The mathematical impact was staggering. My monthly expenses had decreased by $4,120 overnight. Nearly $57,000 annually that would remain in my accounts instead of funding Derek's arrogance. But numbers were only part of the equation. I spent Friday afternoon with my financial advisor, Robert Chen, discussing investment opportunities I'd ignored for years. Bob, I've been telling you for months about that municipal bond portfolio, Robert said, spreading prospectuses across his mahogany desk. With your risk tolerance and time horizon, you could easily generate $12,000 to $15,000 annually in passive income. I was distracted by other obligations, I replied. Those distractions have been eliminated. Robert raised an eyebrow but didn't probe. Well, with your newly available capital, we could diversify significantly. Real estate investment trusts, dividend-focused equity funds, maybe even some international exposure. For the first time in years, I felt excited about my own financial future, instead of anxious about funding someone else's present. The weekend brought an unexpected bonus. Derek's younger brother Kevin called Saturday morning with gossip from Derek's workplace. Bob, you'll get a kick out of this. Derek's been bragging at work about some big family investment opportunity. Claims he's got backing for some expansion deal with TechCore. You know anything about that? I nearly choked on my coffee. Derek was still spinning fantasies about my fictional company purchase from Sunday dinner. Kevin, Derek's relationship with reality has always been creative. Yeah, well, his creativity might bite him. Word is management's getting tired of his attitude. Guy acts like he owns the place lately. After Kevin hung up, I realized Derek's arrogance had been radiating beyond our family circle. His confidence, built on my financial support, was alienating colleagues who didn't understand the source of his security. Sunday evening, exactly 1 week after Derek's loser comment, I sat in my apartment reviewing the week's accomplishments. Every element of my strategic disengagement had been implemented flawlessly. The beauty of the plan lay in its complete legality. I hadn't stolen anything, violated any agreements, or acted vindictively. I'd simply stopped volunteering my money for their benefit. Derek and Sarah remained blissfully unaware of the seismic shifts occurring in their financial foundation. Their next mortgage payment would process normally. It was already in their account from my final transfer. The car insurance had 4 more weeks of coverage. Emma and Lucas could finish their current activities before school started. But September 1st would bring a reckoning unlike anything they'd experienced in 8 years. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Dad, thanks again for everything you do for us. You're the best father-in-law Derek could ask for. I stared at the message for a long moment before typing my response. "You're welcome, sweetheart. Enjoy this month." She sent back a confused emoji, but didn't ask for clarification. She would soon enough. August passed like the calm before a hurricane. Derek and Sarah continued their routines, completely oblivious to the financial earthquake I'd triggered beneath their feet. Derek still strutted around family gatherings, boasting about his business acumen and strategic thinking. Sarah still made casual comments about their comfortable lifestyle and how blessed they were. I watched it all with the detached fascination of a scientist observing a controlled experiment. They had no idea their comfort was about to evaporate like morning dew. The first crack appeared on September 3rd. My phone rang at 7:43 a.m. Sarah's voice carried an edge I hadn't heard in years. "Dad, we're having the strangest problem with our mortgage company. They're saying we missed our August payment, but that's impossible. The money should have transferred automatically like always." I sipped my morning coffee, choosing my words carefully. "Have you spoken with Derek about it? Maybe there was an issue with your account." Derek's furious. He spent 2 hours on hold yesterday trying to sort it out. The bank keeps saying there was no payment received, but obviously that's wrong. Could you maybe call them? Sometimes these older representatives respond better to, your generation. My generation. The generation that pays the bills while yours takes credit for the success. Sarah, honey, I think this might be something you and Derek need to handle directly. You're both capable adults. Silence stretched across the line. "But Dad, you always take care of these things. The mortgage payment comes from your account, remember?" "Does it?" I asked innocently. "I thought you two had arranged to handle your own housing expenses by now." "What? No, Dad, we've never discussed changing the arrangement. Are you feeling okay? Should I drive over and check on you?" The concern in her voice almost made me waver. "Almost. I'm feeling clearer than I have in years, sweetheart. But you should probably contact your mortgage company about setting up payments from your own account. It's probably time you handled these things independently." "Independently? Dad, what are you talking about? We can't afford the full mortgage payment on our own. We've never been able to afford it. That's why you've been helping us." The first note of panic had crept into her voice. Phase 1 was beginning. "I'm sure you'll figure something out," I said gently. "You're both resourceful people." By September 10th, the cracks had widened into fissures. Derek called this time, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Bob, we need to talk. This mortgage situation isn't resolving itself, and now the car insurance company is claiming our policies are going to lapse. There's obviously been some kind of systematic error with your bank accounts." "Systematic error," I repeated thoughtfully. "That's an interesting way to put it. Don't get cute with me, old man. I know you're probably confused about the technical aspects, but these automatic payments are crucial. Emma and Lucas depend on this stability." "Old man." The mask was slipping already, revealing Derek's true feelings about our relationship. "Derek, I think there might be some confusion about who's responsible for what expenses. You might want to review your family budget and adjust accordingly." "Adjust accordingly?" Derek's voice rose dangerously. "Bob, we're talking about $4,700 monthly in payments that have suddenly stopped processing. That's not an adjustment. That's a financial crisis." $4,700. Interesting that Derek knew the exact amount of my monthly contributions. So much for his claims of financial independence. "I understand your concern," I replied evenly. "Have you considered picking up additional hours at TechCore? Or perhaps Sarah could expand her freelance work." "Additional hours, Bob, I'm already working 50-hour weeks, and Sarah's design business barely covers grocery money. We structured our entire financial plan around your support. You can't just..." "Stop. Can I?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Derek's breathing became audible over the phone. "What exactly are you saying, Bob?" "I'm saying that 67-year-old men sometimes reevaluate how they spend their retirement funds, especially when they're called complete losers by the people they've been supporting." The line went dead. Derek had hung up. September 15th brought the call I'd been expecting. Sarah, crying, "Dad, they're threatening foreclosure proceedings." The mortgage company says we're officially in default. Derek's been trying to negotiate a payment plan, but they want the full amount plus penalties. We need $17,000 immediately. $17,000. Just a few months ago, I would have transferred the money without hesitation, probably with an apology for the banking error that caused the problem. Now I felt nothing but resolve. Sarah, that sounds like a conversation you need to have with Derek about your family finances. Our family finances. Dad, you are our family finances. Without your support, we lose everything. The house, the cars, the kids' school, everything. Everything you couldn't afford in the first place, I pointed out gently. That's not fair. You offered to help us. You said it was an investment in your grandchildren's future. And I invested over $600,000 in that future. But investments require returns, Sarah. What return have I seen besides contempt and insults? She was sobbing now. Dad, please, we'll do anything. Derek will apologize. We'll pay you back. Just don't let us lose our home. How exactly would you pay me back? Derek makes $68,000 annually. You earn perhaps $12,000 from freelancing. Your house payment alone is $3,400 monthly. The mathematics don't support repayment, Sarah. We'll figure it out. We'll get second jobs. We'll sell things. Dad, please. You have 3 weeks to figure it out. That should be enough time to explore your options. September 20th delivered the most satisfying call yet. Emma, my 16-year-old granddaughter, bypassing her parents entirely. Grandpa Bob, Mom and Dad are acting really weird. They keep whispering and crying, and Dad keeps saying stuff about lawyers and legal action. Did something bad happen? My heart softened hearing Emma's voice. She was innocent in all this, a victim of her parents' financial irresponsibility. Emma, sweetheart, your parents are learning some important lessons about managing money and treating family members with respect. Are you not helping us anymore? Dad said you're trying to destroy the family because you're jealous of his success. Jealous of his success. Derek was still spinning fantasies, even as his world crumbled. Emma, I want you to remember something. Real success means earning what you have, not taking credit for other people's generosity. Your father is about to learn that distinction. But what about our house? What about school? Mom says we might have to move somewhere cheaper. Sometimes moving somewhere cheaper teaches people what they can actually afford. That's not destruction, Emma. That's education. I'm scared, Grandpa. Don't be scared, sweetheart. Your parents are going to learn how to take care of themselves. It might be uncomfortable at first, but they'll be stronger people afterward. After Emma hung up, I sat in my quiet apartment considering the wreckage I'd initiated. 3 weeks into my financial withdrawal, Derek and Sarah were discovering what their lifestyle actually cost without my subsidies. The foreclosure notice was just the beginning. Soon the car repossessions would start. The insurance lapses would follow. The private school would demand payment or transfer the children elsewhere. For 8 years, I'd shielded them from every financial consequence of their choices. Now reality was arriving with compound interest. Derek had wanted to know what it felt like to be a loser. Soon he'd understand the difference between losing and being held accountable. And I was just getting started. October 1st marked the official beginning of Derek and Sarah's financial freefall. The foreclosure notice had arrived certified mail, the car insurance had lapsed, and St. Catherine's Academy had politely but firmly requested Emma and Lucas's withdrawal by the 15th unless arrangements were made. Derek's response was predictably explosive. He arrived at my apartment unannounced at 6:30 p.m., pounding on my door like police executing a warrant. When I opened it, his face was flushed with rage and desperation. "You vindictive old bastard," he shouted, pushing past me into my living room. "You think you can destroy my family because your feelings got hurt?" I closed the door calmly and turned to face him. "Derek, please keep your voice down. Mrs. Patterson next door is recovering from surgery. Don't you dare lecture me about consideration. You've systematically sabotaged every aspect of our lives. The mortgage, the insurance, the school. You orchestrated all of this." "I orchestrated nothing," I replied, settling into my recliner. "I simply stopped paying for your lifestyle. There's a significant difference." Derek began pacing my small living room like a caged animal. You led us to believe that support was permanent. We made decisions based on your commitments. What commitments? Show me the contract I signed. Show me the legal document where I promised to fund your family indefinitely. It wasn't about contracts. It was about family, about trust. Trust, I repeated slowly. Like the trust that prevents family members from calling each other complete losers at Sunday dinner? Derek's jaw tightened. I was frustrated. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. How exactly did you mean it, Derek? He stopped pacing, his shoulders sagging slightly. For a moment, I glimpsed the fear beneath his anger. Look, Bob, I know I said some things I shouldn't have, but this is insane. You're punishing Emma and Lucas for my mistakes. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm requiring their parents to actually parent, which includes providing for their children's needs. With what money? Derek exploded. You know what I earn. You know Sarah's income. We can't maintain this lifestyle without help. Then don't maintain this lifestyle. The simplicity of that statement seemed to break something inside Derek. He slumped onto my sofa, head in his hands. Do you have any idea what this means? Emma had to quit violin lessons. Lucas can't play travel baseball anymore. Sarah's been crying every night for 2 weeks. They're talking about moving into a 2-bedroom apartment in Franklinton. Franklinton, Columbus's roughest neighborhood, where houses rented for a fraction of Westerville prices. Derek, thousands of families raise wonderful children in modest circumstances. Emma and Lucas won't be damaged by learning to live within their means. Their means? Derek's head snapped up. Bob, without your support, our means are poverty. I'll be lucky to afford a decent apartment, let alone maintain the life my children deserve. The life your children deserve, or the life you wanted them to have? What's the difference? About $600,000, apparently. Derek stared at me blankly. What are you talking about? I walked to my desk and pulled out the financial summary I'd prepared weeks ago. The single sheet contained 8 years of meticulous record-keeping, every dollar accounted for and categorized. This is what I'm talking about, I said, handing him the document. Derek's eyes scanned the page, his face growing paler with each line item. This can't be accurate. $626,000 over 8 years. $626,400 to be precise, plus interest lost on investments I could have made instead. We're approaching $750,000 in total economic impact. Derek's hands trembled as he studied the breakdown. Monthly support payments, house down payment, car loans, insurance premiums, school tuition, emergencies, vacations, furniture, clothes, activities. Every aspect of their lifestyle itemized and totaled. I never asked for this much, he whispered. You didn't ask, Derek. You demanded, you expected. You took credit for accomplishments funded by my retirement savings while treating me like an inconvenience at my own grandchildren's birthday parties. But we never could have paid this back. You had to know that. Of course I knew that. I also knew it was unsustainable. I just didn't realize I was enabling a con artist instead of helping family. Derek's face flushed again. Con artist? I never conned anyone. Every dollar went toward legitimate family expenses. Legitimate expenses you couldn't afford, funded by money you didn't earn, supporting a lifestyle you had no right to maintain. So what now? Derek asked bitterly. You've made your point. We're broke, humiliated, and about to lose everything. Are you satisfied? Before I could answer, my phone rang. Sarah's number appeared on the display. Answer it, Derek said. She's probably calling to beg again. Maybe you'll enjoy hearing your daughter grovel. I picked up the phone. Sarah's voice was hoarse from crying. Dad, Derek's at your apartment, isn't he? I can track his location on our phones. Please, whatever he's saying, whatever he's done, just listen to me for 1 minute. I'm listening, sweetheart. Emma and Lucas don't understand what's happening. They think you don't love them anymore. Emma keeps asking what she did wrong to make Grandpa Bob stop caring about their family. The emotional manipulation was expertly deployed, but I developed immunity over the past month. Sarah, I love Emma and Lucas more than my own life. That's exactly why I'm doing this. How is destroying their stability an act of love? I'm not destroying their stability. I'm forcing their parents to create genuine stability instead of dependency. We can't do it without help. Dad, we've never lived without your support. We don't know how. Then it's time you learned. Derek grabbed the phone from my hand. Sarah, he's got some kind of financial breakdown showing everything he's spent on us. It's really bad. I could hear Sarah's sharp intake of breath through the speaker. How bad? She whispered. Over 600,000 bad. The silence that followed lasted nearly 30 seconds. That's impossible, Sarah finally said. We don't live that expensively. We're careful with money. Derek and I exchanged glances. Even now, faced with irrefutable documentation, they couldn't accept the reality of their situation. Sarah, I said, taking the phone back, you've been careful with my money. There's a profound difference. Dad, please, what do you want from us? An apology? We're sorry. We're grateful for everything you've done. Just please don't abandon us now. I want you to take responsibility for your own lives. I want Derek to appreciate what he has instead of taking credit for what others provide. I want my grandchildren to learn the value of earning what they receive. And if we can't do that fast enough, if we lose the house before we figure it out, then you'll learn faster. Derek stood up abruptly. You're really going to let Emma and Lucas become homeless because I hurt your feelings? Derek, you're really going to let Emma and Lucas become homeless because you refuse to live within your means? He stared at me for a long moment, then headed toward the door. This isn't over, Bob. I'll find another way to provide for my family. I hope you do, I replied. That's exactly what I want you to learn how to do. After Derek left, I sat in my quiet apartment reflecting on the evening's revelations. They still didn't understand the fundamental problem. Even confronted with evidence of their complete financial dependence, they viewed me as the villain for withdrawing support, rather than themselves as adults who'd never learned independence. But understanding wasn't required for consequences to take effect. In 2 weeks, they'd lose the house. In 1 month, the cars would be repossessed. Reality was an excellent teacher, even for reluctant students. October 15th arrived with the subtle cruelty of an execution date. I watched from my apartment window as the sheriff's deputies posted the foreclosure notice on Derek and Sarah's front door. The house I'd essentially purchased with my $75,000 down payment and years of mortgage supplements. My phone had been mercifully quiet for 3 days. Derek and Sarah had apparently exhausted their repertoire of threats, pleas, and emotional manipulation. Their silence meant they were either planning something desperate or finally accepting reality. It was planning something desperate. The ambush came at Kroger's grocery store on Thursday afternoon. I was examining produce prices, a luxury I'd rediscovered now that I wasn't subsidizing another family's organic preferences, when Emma appeared beside the lettuce display. Grandpa Bob? Her voice was small, uncertain. Can we talk? My heart clenched seeing her there. Emma looked older somehow, her usual confidence replaced by the weight of adult concerns no 16-year-old should carry. Of course, sweetheart. Are you here alone? Mom's in the parking lot, she said. She said you might not talk to us if she came in. Smart woman, my daughter. Even manipulative, she understood boundaries. Emma, you know I'll always talk to you. You and Lucas aren't responsible for any of this. Then why does it feel like we're being punished? I guided her to a quieter section near the pharmacy, away from curious shoppers. Tell me what's happening at home. Everything's falling apart. Tears began forming in her eyes. Dad hasn't slept in days. He keeps applying for loans and getting rejected. Mom sold her wedding ring yesterday. We're moving to this tiny apartment near downtown, and I have to change schools again. Again? We left St. Catherine's last week. Now I'm enrolled at Northland High, but Dad says we might not even be able to afford that neighborhood. He's looking at places in really bad areas, Grandpa. The manipulation was masterful, sending Emma to deliver news designed to trigger my protective instincts, but I'd learned to recognize the pattern. Emma, do you know how much money I gave your family over the past 8 years? She shook her head, wiping her nose with her sleeve. Over $600,000. That's enough to buy 2 houses or send both you and Lucas to any university in the country. Emma's eyes widened. That much? But we never lived like rich people. Because your parents spent that money as fast as I provided it, maintaining a lifestyle they couldn't sustain independently. So you just stopped without warning? Emma, I gave them 8 years of warnings. Every time I suggested they budget more carefully, every time I mentioned developing independence, every time I hinted that my support couldn't continue forever, those were warnings they chose to ignore. But what are we supposed to do now? Before I could respond, Derek appeared at the end of the aisle. His appearance shocked me. Unshaven, wearing wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like a man barely holding himself together. "Emma, go wait in the car," he said quietly. "Dad, I was just—" "Car, now!" Emma looked between us, then hurried away. Derek approached slowly, his movements careful and controlled. "Using my granddaughter as an emotional weapon?" I asked. "That's lower than I expected even from you." "I'm desperate, Bob. We have 72 hours to vacate the house. The cars are getting repossessed tomorrow. Sarah's having panic attacks. I don't know what else to do." And for the first time since this began, Derek's voice carried genuine defeat instead of anger or entitlement. The transformation was remarkable and long overdue. "What you do," I said calmly, "is what millions of families do every day. You find housing you can actually afford. You buy cars that match your income. You enroll Emma and Lucas in schools your budget supports. With what money, Bob? After rent and utilities, we'll have maybe $300 monthly for food and everything else. That's not living, that's surviving. Surviving is what you should have been doing all along instead of living beyond your means at my expense." Derek's composure finally cracked completely. He leaned against the pharmacy counter, his shoulders shaking. "I know you hate me," he whispered. "I know I've been arrogant and ungrateful and everything you think I am. But please don't punish Emma and Lucas for my failures." "Derek, look at me." He raised his head, tears streaming down his face. "I don't hate you. I pity you. You're 45 years old, and you've never learned to provide for your own family. You've spent 8 years taking credit for accomplishments funded by someone else's retirement savings. You called me a loser while living off my generosity. That's not hatred I feel. It's profound disappointment. Then help us one more time. Just enough to get stabilized in a smaller place. I'll get a second job. Sarah will work full-time. We'll pay you back." "With what collateral? What guarantees?" "Derek, you've made these promises before and broken everyone. Because we didn't have to keep them before. Now we do. Everything's different now." I studied his face, searching for genuine understanding versus desperate manipulation. After 43 years in business, I'd developed reliable instincts about people's motivations. "Derek, answer me honestly. If I give you money now, even a small amount, what prevents this conversation from happening again in 6 months? Because we'll know you're serious about cutting us off. Because we'll have learned our lesson." "Will you? Or will you just learn to be more careful about insulting the person funding your lifestyle?" Derek's silence was answer enough. "Here's what I'm willing to offer," I continued. "I'll provide basic assistance for Emma and Lucas only. School supplies, essential clothing, medical needs. Nothing for you or Sarah. Nothing for rent or cars or entertainment. Just the absolute necessities for my grandchildren. That's not enough to... That's my offer. Take it or leave it." "What about conditions?" "You mentioned conditions before. Public apologies, acknowledgement of the support you've received, admission that your lifestyle was funded by my generosity, not your success, and genuine gratitude instead of entitlement going forward." Derek's jaw worked silently. Pride warred with desperation across his features. "Public apologies to whom?" "Your family, your neighbors, your co-workers, everyone who heard you take credit for what I provided. That's humiliating." "Derek, humiliation is temporary, homelessness is immediate. Choose wisely." He stood there for several minutes, other shoppers walking around us as he wrestled with the decision. Finally, he spoke. "If I do this, the apologies, the acknowledgements, will you help us keep Emma and Lucas in decent schools?" I'll help Emma and Lucas get the education they need. Where that happens depends on what you and Sarah can afford to contribute. And you'll never cut us off again without warning? Derek, I'm giving you warning right now. This is your last chance to learn financial responsibility. There won't be another safety net if you waste this opportunity. How do I know you'll keep your word? The question hung in the air between us. After everything that had happened, Derek was worried about trusting me. You don't, I said simply. Just like I don't know if you'll keep yours. But unlike you, I've never broken a promise to this family. Derek nodded slowly, defeat and acceptance mingling in his expression. Okay, he whispered. Okay. What do you want me to say? For the first time in 8 years, Derek was asking instead of demanding. It was a start. 3 months later, I barely recognized the family that gathered around my modest dining table for our first Sunday meal together since the intervention began. Derek arrived promptly at 5:00 p.m., carrying a homemade apple pie Sarah had baked from scratch, a skill she'd rediscovered when restaurant desserts became unaffordable luxuries. His appearance had transformed dramatically from that broken man in the grocery store. Clean-shaven, wearing clothes that actually fit properly, he moved with the quiet confidence of someone who'd earned his place at the table. "Bob," he said, extending his hand in a gesture that had become ritual. "Thank you for having us." No longer, "Thanks for everything," or casual assumptions about welcome. Derek had learned the difference between gratitude and entitlement through hard experience. Sarah followed, carrying a simple bouquet of flowers from their apartment complex's garden. The designer clothes and professional manicures had vanished, replaced by practical attire and genuine smiles. She'd lost 15 pounds. Stress initially, then the natural result of walking everywhere and preparing meals instead of ordering takeout. "Dad," she said, kissing my cheek, "Emma wanted to show you her latest report card." Emma bounded in wearing thrift store jeans and a university sweatshirt I'd purchased for her 17th birthday. Her grades at Northland High had actually improved after the initial adjustment period. Smaller classes and less social pressure had revealed academic abilities that expensive private schools had somehow missed. "Grandpa Bob, look." She thrust the report card toward me proudly. 4 A's and 1 B+. Ms. Rodriguez says I might qualify for academic scholarships if I maintain this GPA. Outstanding, sweetheart. What changed? I don't know. I guess I stopped expecting everything to be handed to me and started working for what I wanted. Lucas, now 14 and 6 inches taller than when this odyssey began, had perhaps benefited most from the family's financial restructuring, without expensive travel baseball consuming his weekends. He'd discovered a passion for robotics at the local community center. His latest creation, a motorized toy car built from salvaged electronics, sat proudly on my coffee table. "Check this out, Grandpa. I programmed it to navigate obstacles using sensors I built from old phone parts." "Where did you learn to do that?" "YouTube mostly, and Mr. Patterson from the community center helps sometimes. He used to work for NASA." The transformation in all of them was remarkable, but none more so than Derek himself. The arrogance and entitlement had been replaced by something I hadn't seen in 8 years. Genuine pride in actual accomplishments. "Bob, I got the promotion," Derek announced over dinner. "Regional sales coordinator, 15,000 raise plus commission opportunities. Congratulations. What convinced them you were ready?" Derek's smile carried no trace of his former smugness. "Ironically, the attitude adjustment you forced on me. My supervisor said I'd become more collaborative, less, what did she call it? Financially entitled in my interactions with colleagues." Sarah laughed. "What she actually said was that Derek stopped acting like he was too good for the job. Because I finally understood that I had to earn respect instead of expecting it," Derek added. "Amazing what clarity comes when you're actually responsible for your own survival." The conversation that followed would have been impossible 4 months earlier. Derek spoke candidly about their adjustment period. The humiliation of moving to a 2-bedroom apartment in an older neighborhood, the shock of grocery shopping with an actual budget, the initial panic when Emma needed new school clothes, and they had to choose between quality and quantity. "The first month was hell," Sarah admitted. I cried every night, angry at you, angry at Derek, angry at myself. I kept thinking this was all temporary, that you'd eventually feel sorry for us and restore the payments. When did you realize I wouldn't? When Emma came home from her new school excited about her classes instead of complaining about the downgrade. She was happier in public school than she'd ever been at St. Catherine's. That's when I understood you weren't punishing us. You were freeing us. Derek nodded emphatically. The moment I realized we could actually pay all our bills from my paycheck alone, even if it meant eating spaghetti 3 nights a week, I felt something I hadn't experienced since college: self-sufficiency. Do you ever regret the lifestyle you gave up? Derek and Sarah exchanged glances before answering. Sometimes, Sarah said honestly. I miss the fancy restaurants and spontaneous shopping trips, but I don't miss the anxiety of knowing it could disappear any time you got tired of supporting us. And I don't miss pretending I'd earned something I clearly hadn't, Derek added. My coworkers respect me now because my confidence comes from actual performance, not artificial security. Emma looked up from her dessert. Grandpa Bob, can I ask you something? Always. Are you happier now, like, with how everything worked out? I considered the question carefully. My bank account had recovered substantially. The $57,000 I'd been spending annually on their support had grown through investments to nearly $85,000 in additional wealth. I'd taken the European river cruise Margaret and I had planned, visited old friends I'd neglected, even started volunteering at the local literacy center. But more importantly, I'd rediscovered my own purpose beyond being an ATM for ungrateful relatives. Much happier, Emma. I have a family that appreciates me instead of exploiting me. Did we really exploit you? Lucas asked quietly. You children never did, but your parents had forgotten the difference between help and dependency, between gratitude and expectation. Derek cleared his throat. Bob, I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry. Not sorry we got caught or sorry about the consequences, but genuinely sorry for how we treated you. You deserved better from us. Apology accepted, Derek. What matters now is what you do going forward. Speaking of going forward, Sarah interjected, we have news. Derek and I have been saving money from his raise, and we want to start making actual payments to you. Not full repayment. We're realistic about our capabilities, but something meaningful. I held up my hand. Keep your money. Invest it in Emma's college fund or Lucas's future. The lesson was never about getting my money back. It was about teaching you to value what you have. But don't you want some return on your investment? Derek asked. Derek, look around this table. I'm having dinner with a son-in-law who treats me with respect, a daughter who calls because she wants to talk rather than needs money, and grandchildren who understand that good things must be earned. That's a better return than any bank could offer. Emma grinned. So we passed the test? You passed the test when you stopped thinking of it as a test and started thinking of it as life. As they prepared to leave that evening, Derek lingered at the door. Bob, one more question. If we hadn't learned, if we'd kept fighting the changes, kept demanding support, how long would you have held out? Forever, I replied without hesitation. Derek, I'd rather have no relationship with my family than a relationship built on financial abuse. And now? Now I have something I didn't think was possible anymore. A family relationship built on mutual respect and genuine affection. Derek nodded, understanding finally complete. After they left, I sat in my quiet apartment reflecting on the remarkable transformation. The financial intervention had cost me nothing I couldn't afford, and gained me everything I'd forgotten I deserved. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Thanks for dinner, Grandpa Bob, and thanks for loving us enough to make us better people. See you next Sunday. I smiled, knowing that next Sunday's dinner would be earned, not expected, appreciated, not taken for granted. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is refusing to enable their worst impulses. And sometimes being called a loser is exactly the motivation you need to remember you're actually a winner. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.